Hey everyone, welcome to today's Explainer. We've got a truly fascinating story to share with you today. So I want you to just picture this scene for a second. Imagine a crisp, golden autumn breeze sweeping across the quiet, absolutely immaculate suburban lawns of a place called Oak Ridge Lane. You know the kind of place, trees showering the sidewalks with these beautiful amber and crimson leaves. It looks like your perfect, peaceful, totally predictable American neighborhood. But underneath that picturesque surface, a massive emotional collision is about to take place. And as you'll see, it brilliantly maps out the actual anatomy of human connection. Okay, let's dive into this. What exactly happens when an immovable wall of prejudice meets an unstoppable act of kindness? That's the central question of the source material we're exploring today. We're not going to get bogged down in a formal agenda here. Instead, we're jumping straight into the mechanics of a profound transformation. Like, how do we actually break down deeply entrenched biases? And how does radical empathy work in the real world? Let's start right off with Section 1, the invisible wall. So here's the setup. We have two primary guys living separated by just a few yards of asphalt. On one side, there's Samuel Vance. He's a 70-year-old retired firefighter. And since losing his wife Martha 4 years ago, his whole reality has kind of shrunk down into this rigid, suffocating routine of grief. But then, right on the other side of the street, a moving truck just dropped off Julian, a 34-year-old physical therapist, along with his 8-year-old nephew Leo. Now, Julian is all about forward-looking optimism. He literally poured his entire life savings into this house just so little Leo could grow up in a safe, friendly community. He's a guy who inherently trusts that warmth can bridge any divide. But before a single introduction was even made, generational prejudices were already whispering in Samuel's mind. And really, prejudice acts as literal blinders, right? Blinders that just rob us of our shared humanity. Samuel took one look and instantly judged Julian based on the color of his skin. He basically allowed these completely unfounded biases and ugly stereotypes to build a freezing, invisible wall between their properties, essentially locking his own heart behind a heavy door of ignorance. Julian, though, he fundamentally believes in the goodness of people. So throughout October, he tried over and over to extend an olive branch. He went over and cleared this thick blanket of maple leaves from Samuel's sidewalk. He brought over a box of warm, fragrant cinnamon apple scones with a massive, genuine smile. He'd attempt these cheerful morning greetings. And the response? Samuel met every single kind gesture with just freezing politeness. He coldly stated he didn't accept unsolicited favors and firmly shut the front door right in their faces. Which brings us to Section 2, the breaking point. Picture a blustery Tuesday afternoon in late October. Little Leo is playing, and a stray rubber baseball catches the wind, flies across the street, and lands with a really sharp, echoing crack. It hits a delicate, hand-carved wooden birdhouse right on Samuel's porch. And guys, this wasn't just any birdhouse. This was Samuel's absolute most prized possession, something he built with his late wife Martha. As that fragile wood splintered and crashed to the floor in pieces, Samuel's profound, deep-seated grief just instantly morphed into blind, irrational rage. He marched straight across the street and unleashed years of pent-up bitterness and cruel, stereotyped assumptions right at Julian. Now here is the absolutely crucial point: how Julian reacts. He didn't yell back. He gently shielded little Leo, literally pulling the kid behind his coat. Instead of matching Samuel's cruel, biased rage with his own anger, Julian looked right past the ugly bias. He actually saw the terrifying grief hiding underneath it all, and he whispered this incredible thing to his nephew. He said, "Some hearts are so deeply wounded that they build walls just to keep from falling apart." Wow. He totally recognized the intense pain driving the prejudice. All right, moving into Section 3, the winter storm. Just 2 weeks later, in the dead of November, a completely violent Arctic storm plunges the whole neighborhood into freezing, pitch-black darkness. Inside his freezing house, Samuel realizes his backup generator is totally dead. You can literally see his breath misting in the frigid air. He knows he has to get out to the garage, so he steps out onto his back patio, but he can't see what's right beneath his boots. Black ice, a transparent, absolutely lethal layer of ice coating the wooden steps. The absolute second his boot touches that top step, his footing slips completely. With a sharp gasp, he crashes heavily down the stairs, landing incredibly hard on the frozen concrete below. A shattered ankle. The sharp, agonizing impact made it completely impossible for him to push himself up. I mean, every single time he tried, the excruciating pain and the slick ice just sent him collapsing helplessly back onto the freezing ground. As hypothermia rapidly begins to set in, this devastating realization finally breaks through Samuel's pride. He is completely alone in the dark. And it's a profound, really tragic irony, right? Samuel's fortress of isolation and prejudice had successfully kept the world out, exactly like he wanted. But now it was leaving him freezing to death in the middle of a roaring blizzard, without a single soul around to hear his cries for help. But this is exactly where the story shifts. Section 4, Radical Empathy. Right across the street, Julian had actually just gotten back from a grueling 16-hour hospital shift, but he spots Samuel's side gate swinging wildly in the wind. He rushes over, finds him, and immediately carries Samuel into his own gas-heated home. And this brilliantly illustrates radical empathy in action, because Julian instantly transforms his living room into a triage station. Step 1, he elevates the injured leg. Step 2, he applies a professional medical splint and an ice pack straight out of his physical therapy kit. And step 3, he wraps Samuel in thermal layers to reverse the hypothermia. He's moving with breathtaking speed, skill, and just absolute compassion. But it wasn't just Julian's medical expertise that saved Samuel that night. It was the incredible warmth of little Leo. Without even saying a word, this 8-year-old boy brings over a steaming mug of hot sweet tea. He brings fresh, warm woolen socks. And then he just sits on the floor right beside the shivering elderly man and gently places his small, warm hand over Samuel's icy, arthritic fingers. It's just a quiet, incredibly profound gesture of grace. Finally, we reach Section 5, A New Spring. As the storm finally cleared at dawn, Samuel sat there by the fireplace, and you could see his entire prejudiced worldview just collapse under the crushing weight of Julian's unconditional kindness. Samuel offered this really tearful apology, and Julian, he just placed a reassuring hand on Samuel's shoulder and said, "Forgiveness is the only bridge that heals this world. When we hold on to prejudice, we only build cages in our own minds. My nephew and I don't hold grudges. We hold hands." I mean, what a resounding ultimate triumph of empathy over resentment. Just look at how this entire transformation builds over time. You start with early autumn's completely silent rejection, then the fiery conflict of the broken birdhouse in late October, followed by the literal life-saving rescue during the November Arctic storm, and finally we get to May, a new birdhouse and a real friendship. When spring finally arrived, Samuel and his eager new apprentice, little Leo, were out there proudly building a brand new handcrafted birdhouse together, sharing fresh pastries on a sun-drenched porch. Samuel Vance learned the hard way that true family is defined by the love we choose to share, not the color of our skin. So I want to leave you with this final thought to really reflect on today. What walls of prejudice can you tear down to discover the beautiful, shared humanity right across the street? Thank you so much for exploring this remarkable story of connection with me today on this explainer. Keep asking questions, keep learning, and hey, keep building those bridges.